knowledge over.
To be the world's foremost educational aerospace museum means that we live up to the potential that the museum's laid out for us, that we continue to offer innovative, age-appropriate, rigorous education programs, but for learners of all ages, that we use that aviation lens to inspire learners, adults, children, families to come to the museum and think about their futures in aerospace.
I really love just seeing all the artifacts, especially the airplanes in the air park. You can walk through them and feel like you're actually a part of them. And the other thing that's really inspiring is that it lets me know that I'm not the only one who's so interested in aviation. It lets me know there's a whole community.
Museum's important because it's a place for people to come to learn about history. Specifically in this museum, aviation history and how it affected the Northwest. We give a little bit of the Boeing story here. We have a lot of support from the Boeing company, and people come here all the time to learn about aviation.
What inspires me about the museum is the fact that they have so many planes here, and it just amazes me how you guys can fit so many in here without, you know, the building falling over. It just like, it's crazy. It just really inspired me to take big steps with my life and not just do the little things and the expected things.
I volunteer because I love aviation.
I also like volunteering because I can be involved with once-in-a-lifetime events, like the landing of the full fuselage trainer or the Curiosity landing on Mars. It's just amazing.
We see the impact every day. We hear it, we see it, we live it. Whether it's a child who's come to the museum for a Challenger Learning Center and then come back with their family and then now they're touring their family through the museum. Or we've gone out to their community and then they've come back here year after year. We know that these learners are really having a fundamental experience with the museum, whether it's an on-site experience or an outreach experience. We know that we're making an educational impact on our own community and then the community that's larger, the larger learner community.
I like the stories and the history. I like watching people come in and being in awe of things that they see. Like I volunteer over at the Space Gallery and people will come in and their jaws drop when they look at the full fuselage trainer for the first time.
The museum really means a lot to me because it's kind of how I got interested in aviation when I was little. My grandpa used to take me here, and that was really the start of what got me interested. And then when I got older, I became even more interested, started playing Flight Simulator, then came to the museum even more often, and I got interested in aviation high school, and then got my pilot's license pretty much because of how the museum inspired me.
I love coming to the museum because growing up as a kid, I loved airplanes. I've always been fascinated with flight and airplanes, so to actually come in here and see it is wonderful. We've been here probably 5 or 6 years now, and each group of kids that come in, they really enjoy the experience.
I'm most proud of the continuum of learning that the museum offers. So our early learning programs start for 3-year-olds. Imagine building a robot when you're 3, then coming back to the museum at summer camp when you're in kindergarten, then doing programs throughout the time that you're in elementary school, coming for a Challenger Learning Center in 4th grade or an Aviation Learning Center in 5th grade, then coming back for camp or coming here with your family for an event. I recently had a volunteer who started with us in high school, who worked with us and then came back and got married at the museum. We become this place in these students' lives that's not just the museum, but we become their museum. They say it's my museum. And that's a pretty powerful thing. A lot of museums don't develop long-term relationships with their participants, but the Museum of Flight does.
If the museum weren't here, my life would be a lot different. I probably never would have gotten interested in aviation, and then I probably wouldn't have gone to aviation high school, wouldn't have gotten my pilot's license, and I probably wouldn't even be interested in engineering, which is what I discovered to be my true passion. So I owe it all to the museum, really.
We have almost 500,000 visitors a year, and we put programs for many groups into the mix, and we have people who use the museum for parties, dinners, celebrations. It's a great community asset.
And it also would lose the bridge between where we've come and where we're going.
If the museum were not here, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
So if the museum wasn't here, there would be a deficit in the informal science education world for our community. Our partners do a great job, but there's a really powerful thing of watching a learner, a little guy walk into the museum, walks to the front doors, his eyes get wide. He sees the planes hanging from the ceiling. He knows he's surrounded by these amazing things. And there's a really powerful thing about that. And I think if the museum wasn't here, that inspirational and aspirational quality that is aviation would be lacking in a lot of people.
I helped out with Women Fly, and there was a whole theater filled with teenage girls who were all inspired with the speakers that we had and all excited and animated about the classes and the workshops that were part of that. It's an amazing feeling of energy that you get.
It's a place where everybody in the area can come to learn. And being an educational docent, I love talking to kindergartners all the way through high school and to adults also.
It teaches people that no matter what, anything is possible.
I hope to become an aeronautical engineer, mostly concentrate on fluid dynamics, and I'd love to stay and work in the Seattle area.
The kids learn the concept in the classroom, and then for them to actually come into the museum and have a hands-on experience, it really reinforces everything that they learn in the classroom.
I think the museum is really critically important to my generation because it just is a perfect way to inspire people to get interested in aviation, which is the best industry.
Where else can you go to Mars, take a virtual flight in our flight simulators, tour the full fuselage trainer, walk out to Air Park, go to the Great Gallery, be inspired by these amazing planes, and you can do that all at the Museum of Flight every day. It's a really amazing educational experience for learners of all ages.